questions. Incidentally, also really good questions. That is the question about like where's the line as to what I get a say in is something that I fucking wrestle with all the time and don't really talk about. I try to. But like that's a really fucking strong question. Things that we should all think about. Now let's get a homophobe in here. Let's ruin it, dude. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe we should just go to bed. Maybe we should just call it a night. No. Who is that guy on Good Trouble 2.0 that came in super hot and that I didn't understand? He's not in here, I guess. Bummer. No. Maybe we should just go to bed.
Well, hey there.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Mark. Anybody? All right.
It's kind of interesting, actually. I didn't expect. I thought you were gonna go to bed, but it's good. It was kind of interesting discussion earlier, just now, with Floyd.
Yeah. Cool. I just read your bio.
Yep.
It says abandoned Biden, a Jill Stein supporter, 2024.
Yes, sir.
Sick.
Is it?
No.
Aren't we tired of the government really use us how they want us and make us get scared of the other side?
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it's sick. That is sick.
Is it more sick than the other side and what they're promising?
Well, the thing is, we don't know what they're promising until we see it. Each blue or red, they keep.
We know.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do. They keep.
Have we had the green before?
Have we had? I'm sorry, who?
Have we had the Green Party running?
No.
Okay, so we
No.
don't.
That's not the other side. The other side is the fascist.
Well,
We
realistically,
know we've had him before.
I mean, and we have her right now.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
let's be realistic. Are you happy? Are you happy? I mean, you mentioned a few interesting points earlier.
I don't think you
agree about how the government spend our fund instead of how they utilize it based on our needs.
Yeah.
And that is very important. When they
I'm sorry to interrupt. You said be realistic. And I think that I would say the same to you. I think in a system where we are still hamstrung by a holdover from slavery in the Electoral College, that we don't have ranked choice voting, that there's no statistical way for Jill Stein to win enough votes to matter, and the only way that she will be of consequence in this election is that she's going to siphon votes from Joe Biden the same way that she did for Hillary Clinton. I think that she's also not on the ballot in all the states. So
she doesn't have to be on the ballot in all the states to win, and you know that.
There is no statistical way for Jill Stein to win.
You
And
have-
for you to sit here and go, be realistic, I find that tough to swallow a little bit.
Well, I'm trying to be really, really helpful to give you some idea that she really doesn't have to be on all the ballots. And when I say be realistic, I'm not trying to insult anybody. What I'm
I
trying
know.
to say is the fact she really doesn't have to be in all the ballots.
She just has to win all the swing states. Every swing state, she's got to beat both both Harris and Trump.
Actually, more than the swing states, she has to win.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like everybody else.
So all she's got to do in the next 90 days is somehow poll at 90%.
70%. Because realistically,
What is she polling at right now?
between 60 to 70%. Right now, based on what
Under 1%.
Which poll are you looking at?
Any poll.
No, that's not true.
I'll give you 2%.
Okay.
Where is the 70% coming from?
Do you really believe in all the polls that actually the government is controlling?
Between 70 and 2%, 1,000,000,000%, I believe them, yes.
Listen, are you happy with red and blue? Either one of them?
Doesn't matter.
No, it does matter.
No, it doesn't.
When are we gonna really vote based on our value and what?
Here's what- can I just- this is-
instead of voting out of fear from the other side. I'm sorry, my dog is acting is crazy.
Okay. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
There is a path to a Green Party. Do you know what that path is? Controlling the House, controlling the Senate, abolishing the Electoral College, implementing ranked choice voting.
That is exactly 100% true.
That is the only way to do it. And I'll tell you what. Oh, hang on, Mark. Hang on. You know how we don't do that? Allow a fascist dictator to retain power and never vote again. That's a for sure way that we don't ever get that done.
Have you heard of political compass test?
No.
You haven't heard of political compass test. Okay. Technically, both Biden, Harris, and also Trump, they're all in the same area, which they are, well,
Wrong.
let's agree to disagree.
I do. I disagree. My fault, dude. I'm sorry. I just don't, that's mean, I know. But no. They're not the same. We're gonna disagree with you, Mark. I have to sneeze. Hey, let's go to bed. I'll have fucking Teddy and
Should there be an all-out ban in certain states?
So why shouldn't all gun laws be the same though? Like in New York City and somebody in
Because
South
it's
Carolina.
unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional to outright ban guns. We've discussed this, and under the 14th
No, but the
Amendment,
laws are different in
it
each
was-
state.
It was under the 14th Amendment. It was seen that a woman had the right to the privacy in her doctor's office.
Can you carry a gun in New York State? In New York City, can you carry a gun?
With a permit, absolutely.
Yeah,
No, you can't.
The reason this is a false
Try and get one.
equivalence. The reason this is a false equivalence is because we make a categorical
You
distinction.
brought up the equivalence.
we've devolved into fucking comparing.
You brought it up, buddy.
So I was talking about the outright.
Yeah.
Okay, without interrupting you this time, I was talking about an outright ban on the right to own a gun, and specifically speaking, it was an internal critique, as I know you're Republican.
There's no outright ban on abortion.
Hey, so there is in 12 states. I'm going to go ahead and finish, Tyler, this time without interruption. Are you capable of that?
Dude, you're just talking out your ass.
Okay, with all due respect, that's just what Republicans do.
Okay.
Right.
Remember when you brought two sources? Only two sources, and both times they were fucking false.
No, they weren't
They
false.
They were proven to be
A far
wrong.
left,
like,
a far left group called
every
far
time
right
I've
group.
spoken.
False.
Here, I'm gonna tell you our claim. Right?
You guys are so
officially gonna
disingenuous,
agree
it's
with,
crazy.
like, probably speaking here, like Diana, Law, and everybody on this panel probably agrees with me here. So I personally make a distinction of rights, right? So there's going to be like some legal rights that are convenient, right, that I'd say I should have, but are different from human rights. And when we're referencing human rights, we're going to be looking at things such as laws against race-based discrimination, laws against sex or gender-based discrimination, and like maybe like a right to vote, right, inside of like a well-functioning, well-preserved democracy. But what we're also going to be claiming here is that the rights of bodily integrity and autonomy are just as much of a human right, human rights as the ones in which I just listed. And these are the rights in which a woman would be actualizing when she'd be seeking abortion during like the first 20 weeks, right? So the reason we'd advocate for federal like protections for abortion is because it would be in violation of the human rights of all women and girls, right, to ban abortion prior to a given point. And we don't think that states should have the right to like legislate on women's access to abortion given a time period, the same way we'd say states shouldn't have the right to legislate on the legality of slavery or murder.
Yeah, so you better, the president can't do anything, so you better get the House, you better get the Congress, and the president if you want to pass that legislation. Otherwise, it's just an irrelevant argument.
Do you agree or disagree with me, though?
I don't disagree. Like I'm saying, like I think they should.
You don't disagree that the right to get an abortion would be synonymous to like a right against slave ownership. So in the same way that you'd support the right to get an abortion to be received back to the state, would you be okay with states legislating on the right to own slaves?
Dude, come on. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's
You
your
don't disagree with
argument?
me. You said that you don't.
Is that
see
your argument, dude?
That is a
Grow
very
up.
valid and sound argument.
The
No,
war
it's
was
not.
about
Grow up.
states' rights.
Jesus, like, what are you talking about?
I have a response there. You said that you agree with me. You said that you treat this as a human right, and if you'd say that the human right of access to abortion should be sent back to the state to legislate on, would you side with the Confederates and the rebels when they argue that the same should be done with right?
Your correlation sucks, dude. Nobody's advocating for that. So what are you talking
Everyone's
about?
advocating for state. Hold on, really quick. Everyone is advocating for states' rights when we're discussing abortion right now. You know what they were doing during the Civil War when they were freeing the slaves? Advocating for states' rights, okay? So there is a correlation there.
Yeah, and who gave them those rights? Was it the Democrats? Nope.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. But hey, I have a question. Who did the vehemently, extrovertedly, proud, self-proclaimed racist vote for today? The rich white man or the black woman?
What?
Who the vehemently, proud, self-proclaimed racists vote for today? The rich white man or the black woman?
Have you seen the Nazis in Orlando?
Have you seen the KKK backing Trump over the last 8 years? Have you seen the Proud Boys backing Trump over the last 8 years?
KKK's not backing Trump. The Nazis
When
in
Trump actually
Orlando.
called
Yes,
for the
they are.
Proud
They
Boys
have
to stand still
outwardly
and stand
spoken
by.
out in support for Trump.
What don't Nazis like?
They-
They don't like Jewish people, okay? And Trump adamantly supports the Jewish people and Israel. So they don't like
Yes,
Trump.
so if you would
The Nazis in
I would
Orlando.
love to talk about that with you.
Nazis in
David Duke
Orlando.
literally gave Trump his full endorsement.
Nazis in Orlando are out there
Let's-
pumping up Harris and Biden. So I don't know what you're
Let's-
talking about.
Before we go down this Yahtzee route, can I ask one question before we just completely
ahead.
go into a new topic?
You go ahead. I am so for it.
Tyler, since you think that the state should have a right to restrict women's reproductive health, do you think Texas had a right to chase out Kate Cox, who needed a medically necessary abortion from her state?
I don't know who that you're referring to.
Kate Cox is a woman in Texas who needed a medically necessary abortion, got it approved by the courts, then the attorney general stepped in and said, nope, you're not getting this, and anyone who tries to help you get it will be prosecuted.
No,
To the point where she had to flee her state.
I think I've
to
been
get
very
this
clear about
medically-
where I stand.
It's
that-
going to be really hard to have this conversation when you're talking over facts.
I think I've been really clear where I stand that I don't support.
So,
that. So
No, but you think that this should be back to the states. So I'm asking you, do you think the states had a right to chase out this woman who needed a medically necessary abortion? Or do you
based
think
on
she
what
would have
I've
been
said,
better off
what do you
under
Let her
no,
finish.
I don't support that. No,
Yeah.
I've said that all along.
You are-
repercussions of the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
That's
of
why you go vote
Roe
locally, is what I've been saying.
We've had a spike in maternal mortality rate, and as you stated earlier on when you first got up, you were talking about the economy and how that's important to you, and blah blah blah. And economically speaking, when we have a spike in maternal mortality rate, we're losing workers in the job, like in the workforce or whatever. We're losing people that can fill those jobs, and that affects us economically. Okay, so if you are for a better economy in America, you should be for full abortion access, because those are workers that are dying due to the maternal mortality rate spike from Roe v. Wade.
Slay. Hey, also, I just wanted to say the quiet part out loud. Tyler's been incredibly evasive. Tyler's been incredibly uninterested in actually engaging in productive dialogue and answering good questions. I ultimately view individuals like Tyler advocating for Roe v. Wade to be rescinded back to the states the same way I would have viewed white people advocating for laws that would implicitly stop black people from voting without saying that out loud. Ultimately, I think the reason people supported the reversal of Roe v. Wade was not because of a battle of states' rights versus federally protected rights, but rather it was specifically for the reason that they knew when Roe v. Wade gets overturned, there will certainly be states that outlaw abortion, which will certainly restrict women from accessing said form of health care. That's the only reason why you support it. You just won't say that out loud. You're just complicit and honestly happy with the fact at the end of the day that
I'm glad you brought that up, Dino.
access to abortion.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dino. So let me ask you a question now. Do you know who invented abortion? And do you know what reason for?
Actually, no. We don't know who invented abortion. You want to know
Yeah,
why?
we do. Her name's Margaret Sanger.
Margaret Sanger.
That's Planned Parenthood. I mean, abortion's in the Bible. So, like, if
Why
you want
don't
to
you
talk
look
about who
up?
invented it.
Yeah. Why don't you look up why she did that? Why don't you look up why she did that? You keep calling me a white man.
Wait, Tyler,
Blah,
go ahead
blah,
and tell me
blah.
why.
You don't even
Go
know
ahead
who
and
you're
tell me
talking to.
Go ahead and tell me why.
She did it because she was a racist and
Okay,
she
I have a
wanted
question
to
for you.
eradicate a certain race.
I have a question for you. So, if Margaret Sanger invented abortion, first question, then why is abortion referenced in Numbers 31 of the Old Testament?
Dude, you're so disingenuous.
Without interruption.
Talking about modern day.
So I
Let's put
have.
our listening ears on. Come on, sweetie, you can do it.
Yeah.
Let's retort back to the Bible.
So with just two questions. So first question, if Margaret Sanger invented abortion, why is abortion referenced in Numbers 31 of the Hebrew scripture of the Old Testament Bible written 6,000 years ago? And second question, why did abortion only become legal in any state in America after Margaret Sanger died? And third question, even if it was the case that this vehement racist invented abortion for racist purposes, why does this mean that non-racist women can access or shouldn't be able to access abortion as a form of healthcare today? You know that tipping was invented as a racist method to underpay black workers after the abolishment of slavery, because they made the argument that they should be able to pay them less as they would expect tips, but then the white patrons of restaurants and other services where people were tipped wouldn't tip the black workers. You know that was invented as racism. But I'm going to be honest, Tyler, when I go to a restaurant today and I tip my waitress, I don't feel like I'm doing anything racist, because I'm not tipping her because of the historical roots of tipping. I'm tipping her because she's underpaid given the state the state minimum wage for service workers. So
Yeah, you got some sort of white guilt, don't you?
It's very silly.
Do you tip when you go out to restaurants, Tyler?
I overtip.
Yeah, okay. Are you doing it because you feel some sort of guilt to the racism behind tipping?
What? No. Jesus.
Okay, so why do you think that there should be less what's the word I'm looking for? Less
Hey,
access.
Diana, real quick.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. So, Tyler, you've participated in an abortion before. Was that because you wanted to exterminate somebody because of their race?
Dude, what are you guys talking about? Have you even paid attention?
Your claim was that abortion is rooted in racism,
No,
and
I
that
didn't.
it is a racial.
I said that's where it originated from, and that's where it did.
Okay, but so is that why you got your abortion with your partner?
What do you think? Yeah, that's why. Dude, are you serious? Are you serious with this shit?
No, I mean you're just failing your own test there. Why should we consider the roots of abortion with Margaret Singer if it's true, which it isn't actually entirely true?
Dino's talking about white men and white men doing this and that, and he's that's why it got brought up.
You sound so incoherent. You make no sense. Are you embarrassed of your performance on this live?
No, I'm not. I think I've handled you just well.
I prefaced this, okay, Tyler.
You're doing
I'm gonna
great.
Say this before we move on to we can circle back to your talk of the people that supported the former German leader, because I don't want to get banned. We can circle back to that in a second, but I want to remind you of the conversation that we had when you first got onto this live, that I expect people, that I kind of chewed everyone out for, that I expect people to come onto this live as adults who are having conversations, to have sources to back up their arguments, to have, coherent and thought through, educated discussions with us. Okay, when I bring you up, I have that expectation for you, and I don't, I'm not going to sit here and get on your head because you seem to not be educated in the things that you're talking about. But when your defense is, what are you talking about? When we're referring to things that, historically happened, or, when we're referring to things that are facts, and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know. It's like
Dean brought up race. That's why I brought up Margaret Singer.
So,
she did it to eradicate a certain race.
Yeah,
that's
so
why
the
it was
reason
done.
that race was brought up in this is because you compared it to states' rights, and the argument during the Civil War, during the freeing of slaves in this country,
which is a terrible analogy and a terrible correlation,
was states' rights. That was the argument that people hid behind, when in reality they just wanted to own people. Okay, so that was the analogy there. If you're not able to correlate that analogy, if you're not able to understand that analogy, it is
so
a sign of
what's the
your
argument with
education.
abortion? How are you correlating this? What's the argument with abortion? That it's just racist?
The argument is that you are sitting here saying that you would like it to be states' rights. You think that it should be thrown back to the states, and that is equivalent to people saying that owning people should be up to the states.
I'm saying it should be up to elected officials, not bureaucrats.
Wait, federally protecting abortion,
Wait a minute.
leave it up to elected officials.
Elected officials.
It leaves it up to the women.
You vote in your congressman, you vote in your senator, you vote in your president. Those are the people who make the laws.
Yes, That's what I said. That's what I said. What are you guys arguing about? I'm not arguing
So
against
you're
it.
for, you are for.
So if Congress,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay. So if Congress passed a law legalizing abortion all 9 months, would you support that?
Yeah, because those are your elected officials, and they're going to decide what's best for the country.
Congress passed a law.
I feel like this is very different than what I heard when I first got in here an hour ago.
It is.
Wait, Tyler, if Congress
I told
passed a
you.
law saying that murder was legal for 1 day out of the year, some like IRL purge type shit, would you support that?
Dude, Jesus, where do you come up with this stuff?
It's a hypothetical.
Yeah, where do you come up with
It's
this?
like literally, okay, Tyler, abstract thinking 101. I'm
Yeah,
taking
it's
for
not
argument,
abstract,
we're
like, you're
replacing
just-
the word,
you're
you're
just-
asking the question.
You're off in a fantasy world, dude.
Okay.
Come back to reality.
So I'm actually just
Okay.
testing your logic, right? So basically, right, when we're like having like debates, we're basically both holding to like given like logical principles, right? And inside of a debate, we're essentially testing each other's logical principles, right? And in this scenario,
You're trying to give me a gotcha with some bullshit. Like, come on.
right, so Tyler, 1 second. So in this scenario, right, I'm testing your logical principles through the use of a reductio ad absurdism. That's essentially where I take your principle and I push it to its max, where it would seem incredibly absurd to hold the principle to be true, right? And knowing that if a principle is false in any scenario, then the entirety of the principle would be false, right? That's essentially what I'm trying to get you to concede on, right? So your logical principle here would be that you are okay, right, with any legislation passed by Congress for some very trivial reasons. So my question for you would be, if Congress passed legislation, right, instantiating that murder is legal for 1 day out of the year, would you be okay with this?
And you're okay with a bureaucrat deciding what happens to you.
I don't mind engaging with your questions after you answer mine, but do you mind answering my question?
Dude, obviously nobody's okay with that, but come on, like,
Okay, so if it's the
nobody,
case
that's
that
never
you
going
do
to
not
be,
support
that's
all
never going to be a
legislation
possibility.
of
See,
Congress,
stop.
why do you specifically say that you'd support a federal protection for abortion passed by Congress, even allowing for abortions in the third trimester?
Why did I say what?
I feel like that was very clear.
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Why you would support like federal protections for abortion, even if we were to allow them in the third trimester or after birth?
Dude, I told you I support abortion and I support it going to the states and them deciding what's best. So I don't know what you're arguing
why
about.
you'd support our federal Congress passing legislation to legalize abortion in all 9 months, including after birth abortions.
You know, there has to be some, like, nobody's ever going to agree on that. Like, there has to be some in between, meet in the middle, common sense.
Okay,
So you guys always
Tyler,
talk
you
common
said that you'd
sense.
agree with this. I'm asking you why you would personally agree with this.
In the third trimester, I guess it would depend on the viability and the health of them.
Okay, so like viability would typically happen prior to the third trimester, right? We're going to be talking about elective abortions at about 9 months, which you said that you'd support federal protections for. So why would you support that?
Dude, what are you talking about? Nobody's arguing with you. Like, what are you talking about?
So you are pro-choice. You are for protections for women. Abortion
guy's-
access.
Yeah, have I not stated that over and over again?
You said that you would rather it be up to the states, but if it
Yes.
was an opportunity to be federally legalized and set in stone, you would be for that as well. That's not up to the states.
I'm not up to bureaucrats deciding what happens to me.
That's
I'm up to
not
my
what I
elected
said. Okay.
That's what it is. When, you know, unless it goes through Congress, goes through the House, goes to the president.
How
Like,
are bureaucrats
Right out.
deciding what happens to women with the institution of Roe v. Wade?
the Supreme Court passed it down, right? Did you vote on a Supreme Court member?
How did the Supreme Court, make any decision about what happens to the 170 million American women and girls when they decided that access to abortion should be federally protected? They didn't, because that protection actually took the decision and it placed it in the hands of the individual woman.
What you're upset about?
You're really not tracking, bro. No, I'm not upset about the institution.
You're not tracking. That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you arguing about? Like,
You're saying that federal protections for abortion, as passed through the Supreme Court, would specifically
you overturned Roe versus Wade, is what I'm saying.
Okay, man, Tyler, right? So you said that you don't support federal protections for access to abortion, right?
I'm saying it should be states' rights. Like, quit trying to manipulate my words.
You were okay
Like, I'm
with
I'm
it
speaking
the other
very
time.
clearly.
Why do you disagree with it? Sorry, go ahead.
You're saying you want it to be states' rights, right?
Yeah, like I think everything should be.
But you also said that you would be okay with it federally being legalized and protected.
Wait, Diana, he just said that everything should be states' rights. So right to own slaves should be passed back
Everything?
onto the states.
Murder?
Oh, dude, you keep going back to nobody's talking about that. Come on,
You
man.
just said that
You're so
everything should be states'
disingenuous,
rights.
Dean.
That's not a disingenuous argument. When you
Go to
say
bed. It's
everything-
past your bedtime, Dean.
This is just like the reason that we talk about
Nobody's
excessive
advocating
in
for
different laws and
slavery.
things
That's
like that. That's why when I
ridiculous.
talk about quiet time. That's when I talk about gun legislation and things like that. We talk about exceptions. We talk about exceptions with abortion access. We talk about exceptions with immigration. We talk about exceptions with everything. Okay, we always do. The point.
Diana.
Yes.
Here's so I'm gonna give the best argument for why abortion should be federally protected.
Another analogy.
It's so things like Tyler can't legislate on
Let's
what
hear your analogy,
women
Dino.
can't do with their bodies.
Okay. So my point in this was, you have sat here for the last 45 minutes, half an hour, flip-flopping back and forth on your,
No way.
okay? You have, because you've said you want it to be states' rights, you want it to You think that there should be exceptions and things like that. But you also said, in front of everybody, that you
He
would
might
be
have said
okay
some
with it being
confusing
federally
shit.
legalized.
No, that's not what I was advocating for. And he might have. I don't know what he's talking about. He's talking all this crazy shit.
Okay, and when we kick it back to states' rights, you said everything should be states' rights. And when we're talking about, well, what about murder? What about, like, you know, your gun rights? What about all of these different things? Those are valid concerns when you want everything to be states' rights, because Arizona could come out of the fucking woodwork and say, everyone's allowed to kill everyone in this state if you kick it all back to states' rights, dude.
Like I
They
explained
could
to
have
you,
laws
there's
like that.
different. There's
That is
different
why
weapon
we
laws
have
in each state.
federal laws.
Are there not different weapon laws in each state?
Yes, there are different weapon laws, but no state in America bans the full access to a weapon, bans the access to a firearm.
Tyler, if you think that everything should be pushed back down to the states, would you agree with the abolishment of the federal government?
I really don't like the federal government, to be honest with you. What do they do for you?
So just to clarify, you would agree, right? Can you make it explicitly clear for me?
No,
Would
I
you
mean
agree with the
they're needed
abolishment of the federal government?
they're needed for certain things, but to the extent of the power that they have, no, I
Well,
don't like that.
maybe like needed for things such as like taxation, right? Like maybe like diplomatic abilities, foreign affairs.
Shit, those things could be kicked down the states if you really wanted it to be.
It should be.
Right. Like what abilities would you say that the federal government is needed for?
That's a good question, Dean. That's a
Can you clarify? Can you
Really
clarify for me?
easy answer, though, my guy.
Can you like clarify for me what they'd be needed for? Sorry.
I'd say military. You know,
Military.
I would say-
Military. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say we need them for the military, and you know, you need them for some legislative stuff like what we have with, you know, passing bills and stuff like that. But you know,
Okay.
to the
So this
extent
was
of
the argument
power
of
that they have.
Confederacy.
It's ridiculous.
So this was the argument of Confederacy.
Right, dude. Like you keep going back to that, Dean.
Because
I'm
it's actually insane.
I'm sorry,
But the
you're a white
Confederacy-
guy that feels
listen,
guilty,
Tyler,
but
Tyler, put your listening ears on for me, okay? I promise you can do it. I promise you can be quiet while I say something. I promise, dude. This is
you're not
the
going to
issue.
portray me as a
Is
racist,
that-
though.
Okay, well, quiet time. All right, are you ready? This is the issue that we are having, is that the conversations surrounding abortion right now, the wanting to push it back to states' rights, wanting all of these things, wanting to have this kind of control and things like that, is comparable to the discussions that were happening during the Civil War while they fought back and forth over the right to own somebody. Okay.
Well, it just actually is a conversation. Like this was the Confederacy's argument, right? That the federal government should be have like military, right? Maybe like some taxes, and like that's essentially it. So sorry.
And those are all Democrats, Dino.
Okay, Tyler.
Since you want to go back in
one
history,
more question.
those are all
I'm gonna ask
Democrats.
you one more question, okay? And then we will move on from abortion because I think that you're kind of having a hard time here, and I will give you an easier one. God, it was right there. Fuck me. I was gonna ask you one more question, and then we were gonna move on. God damn it. Oh.
It's not getting it. He's just purposely being a shit.
Oh yeah, I know. He's being so fucking facetious in all of his arguments, and it's fine. It's fine.
Dean,
I
Dean
am
really
perfectly
is.
fine
You're
with
right.
arguing
You're right
with
about
you.
Dino.
I am perfectly fine with arguing with you, Tyler, because I know that you're just bullshitting me at the end of the day.
I'm not.
But I'm fine with wasting my time because you actually are like extremely uneducated in these topics, and I'm hoping by the end of this, I am stuck in your little brain for a while.
And you
And have to do a
can't
little
really
deeper
debate
research.
any actual Kamala policy because she hasn't
We
released
can
it.
talk about Kamala policy, okay? Yes, Kamala Harris does not currently have a lot of policies on her page, but when we're talking, oh my God, thank you so much, Ellie. When we're talking about Kamala Harris, she is the Vice President of the United States, and we can refer back to the actions that her and Biden under their administration has taken as to what we can expect from her as president, okay? So, like, for example, she's about to release her economic stance, but for example, we can talk about the Kamala policies like the Infrastructure Act or the PACT Act or the Chips and Science Act or the bill that they passed not allowing medical debt to affect your credit score or the $35 cap on insulin. We can talk about all of those things. I can tell you how those things affect the American people and actually have some kind of productivity.
She copied Trump with the insulin. He came up with that, and then she's copying him with the,
She's the one that got it the
tips. Copying him with the tips. But she's in office now.
Okay,
so why can't she do anything
there
now?
There are things called, but there are things that are not bipartisan. Okay, there are things that are bipartisan. Fuck. There are things that you can agree with on both sides. There are things that you can pass legislatively that both parties agree with. Okay, like the immigration bill that Biden and Harris put up that was written by Democrats and Republicans. Okay, there are things that people can agree on, like the tips and things like that. At the end of the day, we're looking at the productivity of what they've actually done while they're in office.
So true.
Yeah, well, for 3 years, you guys were denying that there was actually a crisis at the border. And then all of a sudden, in the fourth quarter, people like you, Dino, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, when you see the polls are turning and it's really bad for you, you're like, all right, we got to get a border bill passed. Let's do it. And it's like,
So actually, about 2 years into Biden's presidency, Langford, which is a Republican in the House of Representatives, drafted a bipartisan Secure the Border Act. And this was supported not only by him and the other Republicans in Congress, but it was also supported by the Democrats in Congress. After this bill gained bipartisan support, and it was seen as a good means to end the crisis at the southern border, Trump called the Republicans in the House and the Senate, and he told them to vote against it because he didn't.
You're talking about a couple months ago.
No, I'm talking about the Secure the Border Act of early 2023, drafted in 2021.
Yeah, so Trump's to blame. Right, gotcha.
Right. So, and then Trump calls the Republicans in the House and the Senate, tells them to vote against the bill. And this isn't speculatory hearsay. Right. Langford went on Fox News and CNN, spoke about how he was so mad that Trump shot it down, even though Langford was one of the 13 senators that supported the idea that the election had been stolen from Trump in 2020. We also saw people like Ted Cruz come out and say the same thing. We saw House leaders come out and say the same thing. And then, fun fact, Trump actually said at one of his rallies in Nevada that it should be blamed on him that the border bill failed. My question to you is, how do you feel about Trump putting himself above the country, right? And this is a really good circumstance of this, right? He's putting himself above the country in the sense that he doesn't really care about undocumented immigration. He doesn't really care about people coming into our country across the southern border, but then he'll turn around at one of his rallies and call all undocumented migrants terrorists and MS-13 gang members raping women and children, right? So how do you feel about him demonizing these people and using it as a political campaigning point to win your vote when in all reality, he's the one that shot down legislation that would have significantly reduced border crossings years ago?
Yeah, no, he's done everything he can to advocate for the border and having it closed. And
do you think
what you're referring to is
we
the
can
border
talk
bill.
about the border and immigration. Do you think the wall was realistic? Was a good idea and was executed well during his 4 years of presidency?
I think if me and you tried to enter any other country, we wouldn't be able to get in. So I think we need to have to have a country, you have to have a border, or else what do you got? You have to have.
Have you ever heard of the Schengen zone in Europe?
You have to have legal points of entry where people come in, and you know who's coming in.
I asked you, do you think that the border wall was successful during Trump's presidency?
Obviously not, because it didn't get completed.
Yeah, so when we're talking about things like this, when we're talking about policies and actions taken by politicians, we have to look at what they've done, okay? You can agree with the border wall all you want, but at the end of the day, Trump only built 50 miles of the border? Of the border wall?
It's a deterrent, but they tunnel in. There's all sorts of ways
it's not a deterrent. So it's not a smart idea, okay? And
but
that's
it could have been
writing
completed.
on.
It could have been completed under Biden.
That actually is a good point here. If I was a conservative, if I was a conservative and I really cared about immigration, Donald Trump would not be my guy. Like, we understand that this guy was so ineffective with being able to pull Congress together that the border bill for the wall actually got shot down in Congress twice. Then he had to turn around and sign it into law through an executive order, very half-assed for the military. And we only saw numbers of immigration increase from the day he entered office until COVID, when he was able to sign Title 42 into law that, closed down all crossings because of the national health emergency. He was very ineffective for the border during his whole term. He didn't get much done. Numbers only increased, and the only reason he had low numbers was because of Title 42. And then he turns around while Biden and Harris are in office and torpedoes a good border bill. Once again, why the hell would he be voting for Trump in this circumstance?
Do you believe there's been a border crisis? Do you believe there's been a border crisis under this entire administration?
No, I don't.
Okay, so then why do anything at the border at all?
Well, actually, I'm going to ask you the same question now. Do you believe that we currently have a border crisis?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so do you think that we had a worse border crisis at the end of Trump's term because we actually have lower daily crossings now than in January of 2021?
That's bullshit.
Executive order?
That's bullshit. What's your source on that?
Yeah, so we could reference NPR. Just want to go ahead and look at Biden's executive order, 55% decrease in daily crossings. You'll see that currently speaking, we have 22.
You're not going to gaslight me, buddy.
Crossings today, and then in January of 2021, we had 24 through 2,500 daily crossings.
Yeah, you're not going to gaslight me. That's.
Sir,
What's your
the one
source?
that's been doing
What's your
the
source?
gaslighting.
What's your source, Dean?
Dean has been providing the matches.
What's your
Okay,
source?
you're gaslighting.
NPR and PolitiFact, just look at Biden's executive order.
PolitiFact, yeah.
Decrease in daily crossings.
So Tyler, the numbers are right, but that's here nor there. What could Trump do as president to protect the border that Biden isn't doing right now? Be specific.
So what I liked what he did is he told him, you're not getting your
We're
federal
not
funding.
talking
if you
about
don't."
what he did. We're talking about what he plans to do.
Okay, well, it's kind of what he did and what he can do. He's going to say,
Okay.
you're not getting your federal funding or your foreign funding, as I should say, if you don't, get a hold on all these people coming up here. You need to, they're claiming asylum, so you need to give them asylum and see if there's something you can do for them in your country first. And if not, then, maybe they can come here. But there's a whole bunch of things that he was doing.
So you're asking Trump to be able to rewrite the International Refugee Convention of 1967?
He did it. He told Mexico, he said, I'm going to take your foreign funding away if you don't stop these people from coming in. And what do you think they did?
Okay. Does Trump have the authority to do that?
Did Biden have the authority to withhold $1 billion when the prosecutor is investigating his son?
Okay, Shokin wasn't investigating his son, but don't pivot, please.
He was. If he can do it, he can do it.
Can the president withhold congressionally appropriated funds?
Dude, what do you think?
Question.
The answer is no. And if you need a source, it's the Impoundment Act of 1974.
I understand what it is, and they do it all the time. That's why they call him quid pro quo Joe.
Okay, so again, from the pivot. So now that we know that the president can't withhold...
That's a correlation what Dino is trying to do, and that's spot on.
So now that we know that the president can't withhold funds that have been appropriated from Congress, what else could President Trump, as president, do to fix the border?
Deport them. You're coming in here.
Okay, so if you're concerned about
Come in here
deportation,
illegally?
Biden deported more people than Trump did under his presidency.
Yeah, because more people are coming.
Got more people at the border than Trump did.
More people are coming, which directly.
If you are that concerned about it, more people are coming. Obama deported more people than Trump did under his presidency.
They weren't coming here like that under Trump because they already knew, and he's just like what I said. He told Mexico, "You're not getting your foreign funding if these people keep coming like this."
You know that every Republican president we have had since 2000 has said that they wanted to, quote unquote, deport all of the undocumented migrants.
Not all.
Ever have for the reason that it is practically impossible to do so.
And you call them dreamers, and you claim you want to give them asylum and stuff, and you never do.
One moment. Just touting the slogan that you're going to deport them all, that essentially achieves nothing within a political debate. It essentially achieves nothing within our country. This is nothing more than one of Trump's many slogans. It means nothing. He will achieve nothing with it, just like Bush achieved nothing with it. Could you please tell us, right, realistically this time, what you think that we should do about the border?
Hey, Dino, what country can you go into undocumented and they're not going to throw your ass out?
I mean, do you want me to go online and get a list, or do you want to answer
tell me where you can go that they're not going to throw you out.
I will entertain your pivot after you can answer my question. I honestly think that you're just asking me this question to detract from the point that you have no fucking.
I've already told you these countries.
Really quick, Tyler, can I tell you something really, really fast?
Sure.
When I went to Europe when I was in high school, okay, I fully funded that off of Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout for 10 years, and I raised the money to go to Europe. And in Naples, Italy, I had my passport stolen. I was 16 years old. I had no form of documentation, okay? I entered Rome undocumented, okay, with the purpose of going to the embassy and getting an emergency passport. I had my parents there, which I was very lucky to have. I didn't even have a birth certificate.
Right.
Okay.
That's the point.
I
You
went
were with
to
your
Rome
parents, and they were
undocumented.
documented.
If I really wanted to, I could have stayed in Rome indefinitely undocumented.
Wait, I have a great fucking question. Oh my god, this is phenomenal. This is so great. This is so great.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wait.
yeah, undocumented migration, right, coming into our country illegally, is exactly that, illegal.
The crime in itself, yes.
One moment, Tyler. However, it is the case that around the country, we have sanctuary cities, right, where the state sanctions the undocumented migrants to live, work, and act in accordance with society, and they promise the undocumented migrants that they will not follow through and charge them with the federal crime. And
How's that working out for them?
my question for you is, early in our conversation about abortion, you said that all rights should be sent back down to the state. And sanctuary cities, where they house undocumented migrants, is a phenomenal example.
You're getting federal funding, Dino. You're skipping that part.
I can't do it with the interruptions, Tyler. Okay?
Because your correlation is stupid.
Okay.
Listen. Good job. Thank you.
So sanctuary cities are going to be a phenomenal example of anti-federalism, right? So sanctuary cities just essentially are putting more power in the hands of the states, taking it away from the federal government, because the state is attesting to not following through with crimes and punishments as detailed by the federal government. So it makes no sense that you would hold this conservative worldview. You'd support the Republican Party. You'd be against federalism. You'd be for anti-federalism. You'd be for more power sent back down to the states. And then in the same breath, you'd contest sanctuary cities, these places where undocumented migrants can stay without being deported, right? That's a confliction within your worldview, because you're essentially saying here that the federal government should have more power, more rights, right, more authority to govern over our states, when earlier in our conversation you attested to the opposite. So which one is it? Are you for a federal government having power over the states, or are you not? Make up your mind, man.
Maria is at war trying to keep your mic muted. Continue. Go ahead and answer, Tyler.
Yeah, Dino, that's not a gotcha, because all these sanctuary cities are receiving federal funding, okay, buddy? Do you understand that?
Federal funding for what?
So you want to give this long, drawn-out
receiving federal
statement
funding for?
and think you got somebody, and you look stupid.
What are they
Right.
receiving federal funding for?
For the undocumented immigrants, do you not
For
see
what
the mayor?
specifically?
Do you not see the mayor of New York City on TV
What
begging?
specific
and that
federal
it's
funding
breaking,
are they
it's
receiving
breaking the
for?
back of New York City.
Can you recite a bill or policy that enacts federal funding for that?
They don't. The only federal funding that we see offered to migrants is going to be through like the ACA and Medicare, but they specifically have to meet this state income and eligibility requirements given citizenship. So
Have you
this
not
is
seen
where
Eric
the
Adams on
Republican
TV?
rhetoric actually acts against Tyler, because it is the case that you call them quote unquote illegals. So it is the case that undocumented migrants that enter through illegal processes actually don't get federally funded healthcare. They don't get any federally funded benefits, and the only benefits that they would receive is at the state level. So what you said is false. It was a flat out lie.
You're a naive person if you think they're not getting federally funded, buddy. You're very naive.
What federal funding do they receive? For what? Is it for healthcare? Is it for food? Is it for housing? Is it like be more specific?
It's for food, for housing,
False.
They're using
All
our
state level.
right. So why is Eric Adams on TV begging for money, saying it's breaking?
He doesn't get it. Because he doesn't get it. Because he doesn't get it from the federal government.
No, he does.
'Cause the federal
He
government
does.
doesn't give it.
He
Then why would
does.
he be begging?
Jesus, dude, like you're.
Isn't this like, doesn't this disprove your own claim? Because
No,
I'm making the
it
claim that
doesn't.
the federal government doesn't give states funding for undocumented migrants, and then you're like, well, then why would we see a governor of a state begging the federal government for money?
How long-
Because he isn't getting money.
How long did they last in Martha's Vineyard before the sanctuary city booted them out?
Pivot.
No, not a pivot. Facts.
What Maria's
It is. It's a
pivot.
pivot.
It's
facts.
1,000% a pivot.
And they're getting federally funded, buddy. I don't have the fucking statue, but they're getting federally funded.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this.
I could give you $20,000 in 24 hours and you wouldn't find that statute.
All right.
Listen, dude. I'm going to tell you this one more time, and we can move on if you're uncomfortable discussing immigration. Okay.
I'm not at all.
Oh, okay. Then we can continue it. But I'm going to tell you this one more time before we proceed. When you say things and don't have anything to back up the things you're saying, no sources, nothing. You can't. Google is not a source. Saying
What's
Google
Dean's
is
source?
not a source.
What's Dean's
okay?
source? For all the shit he just said, what's his source? He's
Name
giving hypotheticals and analogies. He has no
Wait,
source.
Tyler,
at all.
just so we could get this out of the way so you could stop interrupting Diana, name the claim that you would like a source for.
Dude, you got no sources. All your things are
Name the
hypothetical.
claim that I have made that
Civil
you would
War,
like a source for.
You
slavery,
don't actually
blah,
want
blah,
a source.
blah.
You don't actually want a source to prove what he was saying. You're just bullshitting me. But you have yet to provide any kind of reputable source for anything you have ever said ever in your whole entire life. Okay, my guy? For all I know, nothing you say is actually true. And that's how I'm going to treat it. Okay? That's how everybody here is going to treat it. Is
Tell me one
you are
thing
not
that you
saying
think I've
any
said.
hold on, quiet time. Bubble in your mouth, okay? You are not citing any kind of facts when you are making an argument, okay? You are not giving any kind of source to back it up. You are unresearched in this argument. You have no kind of anything to back up anything you are saying. Okay?
So you think everything I've said tonight is just not
I
true?
am taking every single thing you have said tonight as infactual because you have no way to back up what you are saying. Because you're just yapping what you fucking heard Joe Rogan tell you and Fox News say to you. And you don't have any kind of reputable source to back it up.
No, I don't. I'm giving you sources. The FBI statistics,
source then.
Project
For
Veritas, I'm
everything
giving
you
you a whole
say
bunch
is
of
fake.
stuff.
Okay, we're going to do this right now. Give me a source for anything you have cited.
I just told you two of them that I cited.
What are they?
Name publishers, right? You did not give a source, so when you're going to be referencing a source for a claim, you're going to have to reference a publisher as well as like the title of an article, a study, etc.
He did not say Project
Citation.
So, like when we're talking about Kamala Harris's research on immigration, because if you really want immigration handled, they're the party that's doing it, that's putting effort towards it. Okay, her job was to do research on the causation of migration, of the cause of migration in this country. Okay, and she created a 5-pillar strategy on aiding other countries in bettering those countries so that they could be better, so people would not feel the need to flee here, whether that's economics, whether that's any social issues, things like that. So when I say that, I can cite the source of whitehouse.gov, and if you look up fact sheet strategy to address the root causes of migration in America, this is where you will find her 5-pillar plan.
That's
Okay.
not or 5-pillar plan.
Yes, her 5-pillar plan on aiding other countries and how to reduce migration.
It
in this
didn't
country.
work. How many people have come
Okay.
over
It actually
here?
This is
decreased
a-
crossings from Guatemala by 50%.
Yeah,
right?
Guatemala. They're all coming from Asia and
So
China.
this is a long-term goal, okay, to aid these countries. This can extend to other countries in this kind of aid. It's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? This is able to be used in other countries. This is not specific to the 3 countries that are cited in
Yeah,
this.
it can expand.
It's able to expand into other countries. So if we feel the need to aid other countries to reduce that migration, we can do that. Okay, this is a long-term goal. This is how we reduce the amount of immigrants coming to this country, is we have to go to the root cause, because Your border,
From
your
one continent.
closing of the borders, your wall is a Band-Aid on these issues, okay?
Yeah, so you're stopping it at one continent.
So,
Now they're
the
coming
point
from
of this,
multiple
hold on,
ones
hold on.
because they all know the
Wait,
border's
hold
wide
on,
open.
hold on. I promise I'll be done yapping in a second and I'll let y'all go back at it. The point of this is I just yapped my little fucking head off about all that shit, okay? And I am able to cite a source as to what I'm referring to when I'm making this discussion, making this claim, okay? You make the claim of Planned Parenthood getting government funding and blah, 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 and your tax dollars are paying for babies dying,
I
and you're not able
provided
to
a
cite a
source.
source for that.
You named a
Which wasn't
you
true.
named a far-right
Accept it.
think tank. 1 second. You named a far-right think tank, right? So when we're asking for a citation, you're gonna have to give a publisher. So far-right think tank is fine. Yeah, whatever, right? We'll evaluate it for its evidence. But you didn't name like the name of an article or like something for us to look up and find, right?
You
The
found
data.
it just fine.
So your
Wait,
claim
Tyler,
to Planned
I
Parenthood
want-
getting funding and things like that was Veritas, which is a far right activist group. And when you say look up Veritas, look up what is being said. What I have to do when
That
you
means
don't
they're
give me
liars.
a publisher, when you don't give me an article on these things, is I have to Google what you just yapped, and what I'm pulling up is the first 9,000 pages is discrediting your source.
From far
non-
left groups.
Yeah. No, from non-biased sources. From NPR.
Which is why
from-
you need to provide a source,
And
a citation.
Who's not
Do you
biased today?
understand, Tyler, before we go further, do you understand what a source is?
Jesus Christ.
I'm asking you for what a source is.
Wait a minute. You need to actually go on. Do you understand what a
Do I
reputable?
come off like I'm dumb or something? Like, do I really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Alright.
come off as unintelligent.
All right, I gotta go to bed. I gotta go rethink my entire life.
Now that's a smart thing to say.
You should. That's
I
my
gotta go
only
rethink
goal in
everything.
life is for you to come on here, listen to me and my little buddies yap our heads off, and then you go and lay down at night and rethink your entire life.
I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep.
Okay.
Contemplate your life choices.
Dino, I'm gonna have nightmares about you, buddy.
You're not gonna have nightmares.
This whole
about me?
conversation gave me a nightmare.
Okay. Well, Tyler, you have a good night.
All right.
Think about your decisions. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. We're moving on. Oh my
You're so
God.
well spoken and so nice. I could never.
I have the.
Before-
I am a nanny. Okay. I have the patience of a god. This is what I do as a career. Is I deal with
This is.
wise.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
Before
This
we
is
move
awkward
on,
for me to hear Dean not tearing into people. It's like Dean, like as a guest in Alive, is besides Parker's, is pretty amazing. You have restraint I never knew you had.
Over this dude. Are you intimidated by a woman in power?
So real.
I wanted Eli to because I've yapped at him like every fucking day this week. It's fine. I can.
18.
host,
So you're gonna put
I'm
up
gonna
some
drop-
shelves or something? 'Cause- oh, bye, Nutty.
Bye.
oh no, yeah, I just wanted to ask host a question before I left
What's up, babe?
because it has to do with GT again.
Okay, we can yap.
Were
about it.
you-
What's up?
Were you in the live last night when the dude went up and was like, "I have 2 hot takes," and then he immediately compared GT to Rufus from Kim Possible?
No. God damn it. I have been slacking on GT's lives because he has like sub only on for his comments, and it's been rough. Maria, can you just bring somebody up, please? Because I've tried to bring multiple people up and they just don't like me.
Dude, I love GT.
He-
I love him so much. I think he's so funny. And I can't talk like him anymore. I used to make jokes like that. I just got my live access back today. The TikTok gods took away my rights for like 5 days. So
That's why you have to.
He's the only one who can get away with it.
it's fine.
I think I'm actually on my 4th account right now. Like I don't even know at this point. I've kind of lost track.
I'm on my
Your
second.
name
I
says
refuse to
4th
make a
account.
third.
Okay, yeah. It's in there.
That's funny. I finally bit the bullet and got an alt account the other day because I got
You will
banned.
never stop making them. You will never. You just started a very long journey, Diana.
It's fine. It's fine. What's up, dude? How old are you? Hello, Isaiah.
Oh, hi. How you doing?
It's Mickey.
How you doing?
That's a child, right?
That is Mickey Mouse, bro.
That is Mickey Mouse. Okay.
Dean, I just had a question for you.
Go for it.
Are you planning to go to IKEA and buy some shelves? Because now you're living rent free in Dean's Head, and I'm sure it's so spacious in there.
I'm gonna have to buy IKEA's international stock out. Right. I'm just gonna steal my mom's credit card. I'll do that tomorrow.
Sure.
How's it going?
I'm 29.
All right. Are you voting for Trump?
I'm not voting for Kamala.
Okay, so who are you voting for?
I'm planning on voting for probably. I'm still undecided, but I'm definitely not voting for Harris at this point. And I'm not voting for Trump.
So where are you leaning? You're leaning RFK, right?
No, fuck no.
Are you a
So
leftist?
who are you voting for?
Wait.
I'd
Kim,
probably
are you a
consider myself a leftist, but
Oh,
here's
yeah.
here's the problem that I have with Kamala. So people like me that identify as politically left, we were the first ones and the most vocal to be like, this guy is fucking, he's not going to work. He's obviously senile. And then we had a bunch of people like, no, he's not, when he obviously was. Like, we all see it now. We can all look, hindsight's 2020, right? Too old, too senile. Probably good move, Democrats, to move him out of the way.
Kim, can I propose an idea?
Can I finish the point really quick and then please
My
propose an
apologies.
idea? Now that we have Kamala, right, that takes the place, we're just jumping behind her when there's still a genocide going on. She's still funding it. She still militarizes our police forces. Like, I really feel like because Trump exists, the left has a really hard time holding our politicians to a standard. And when they don't meet that standard, we don't call them out. We just say, well, at least she's not Trump.
Okay, so we can talk about, sorry to interrupt, but we can talk about what's going on in Israel Palestine. Just so you know, we can't say the G word. I get taken down almost every single time I say it.
Sorry, G said.
But when we're talking about that, we have to acknowledge the fact that she was one of the first people to call for a ceasefire. She has called for a ceasefire recently. She told Netanyahu flat out that is unacceptable what is happening in Israel and Palestine. And
But
that he needs to work
$3.6
on
billion was
ceasefire.
just released to Israel, and aid is unconditional at this point still.
Okay, so the reason, do you understand why we send money to Israel?
Yes, I understand there are several reasons why we send money to Israel.
So one of the biggest reasons is because they are our ally. And when we abandon our ally, when we don't support our ally in any sense, that opens up the questioning to our other allies of if they can trust us to actually back them. And that can open up World War III.
Doesn't it open up the question
that's what happens.
if we're not holding our allies to the standard of
Yeah, of course, we should be holding them to that standard. But
yeah,
at the end
human
of the day-
rights, right? When we're saying nope, it doesn't apply to you because you're our ally. We're not going to hold you to the Geneva Convention. We're not going to hold you to a certain standard of human rights. That
So we
says a
can-
lot more.
We can definitely agree on that, but at the end of the day, Harris has flat out said that it is unacceptable what is happening, and she told Netanyahu when she spoke to him recently that it is unacceptable how far he has gone when it comes to Palestine.
But
And that he
we
needs to
just
work on
released
these areas.
$3.6 billion
Do
yesterday.
you mind if I hop in here real quick? Is that all right? So,
2 seconds. We're outside of my wheelhouse, so I'm gonna duck out. You guys have a great night.
love
You
you,
have
Mama.
a good night. I'll talk to you later.
Good night,
You've
love.
gone too far. Here's another $3.6 billion.
Kim, real quick. So I probably like agree with like you here more than Diana, right? But like difference of thought is exactly why we're all on this live tonight. So it's cool that we could kind of talk about this. But just to like hop in here, right? I absolutely agree with you. I think that the Biden-Harris administration has sent Israel funding when they shouldn't have. I think that they should have implemented a conditional allyship, essentially stating if they commit these you know these G-side crimes, right, against the innocent Palestinian individuals, that we should no longer be sending them funding, no weapons, right, etc. I absolutely agree 110%. I am vehemently pro-Palestine. However, at the end of the day, we need to look at who's going to feasibly win this election. It's either going to be Trump or it's going to be Harris. And now let's look at Trump's approach to the issue and Harris's approach to the issue. Right. Well, first of all, as Diana pointed out, right, Harris has been the first candidate to publicly speak about a ceasefire agreement between Israel as well as Palestine. On top of the fact that the Biden-Harris administration, right, cut down a weapons shipment by 6,000 bombs, right. And you know what Trump's response was? Trump's response is that Biden and Harris have not done enough for Israel. They have not sent them enough funding. They have not sent them as much warheads as they should have, right. And he's proclaimed him as the most pro-Israel president that the U.S. has ever had. Trump has said that Biden is a quote-unquote bad Palestinian, right, using the word Palestinian in a negative context, treating it like a slur. Trump has repeatedly called Harris, right, pro-Hamas or supporters pro-Hamas, right. Trump has even said that he pledges to deport everybody that is quote-unquote pro-Hamas in the U.S. back to Palestine if he's elected. And he's even gone on the public record stating that I don't understand how any Jewish person would vote for Harris because of the lack of her support for the state of Israel. So my point here is, I get it. This is one point where I think Harris does fail, but Trump is the worser of two evils, and that is an objective fact. If you care about the innocent individuals being slaughtered in Palestine, then you would vote for Harris because that is going to reduce the harm being caused. Abstaining from this election, not voting for Harris, is a vote for Trump.